Welcome back to another episode of the Caffeinated Christian. Wow, I was really excited there. Caffeinated Christian podcast.
It's hard to be excited.
The drink I have today, Mike. The drink I have today is a lot of caffeine. I'm
Jacked.
on your host. Yeah, right. Ryan Willert. I'm with Pastor Mike Rigglesworth. Pastor Mike, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good today. I was talking to you about what's going on in our life before I got on today, and just sum it up with we are living a very full life right now. We're not too busy, but there's always something to do. We're living a very full life. There's never a moment where we're not sitting on our hands doing something. Like we're doing something. So I even have my coffee mug from a few months ago that I actually, closing in on a year now, that I got for my birthday. Be good, do good, God bless, and go Bills. So
Yeah.
we're doing a lot of good things. But we have a full schedule. How about you?
Yeah.
How you doing?
Yeah, doing good. The next week's going to be like mid 40s to 50 degree here. Get all that snow gone. That's what I like to hear. But no,
Yeah.
I'm just keeping busy, doing some research, doing some construction work, all that fun stuff. And I got a lot of topics on hand that I'm going at slowly. I have two main topics sort of for this upcoming year that I'm going to be focusing on. And then, yeah, I can't complain. I'm excited for spring to come. We finally got the ability to get out there and basically take our Christmas stuff down. So I'm excited about that.
Nice.
It's been like 2 degrees, so everything's been packed in the garage. And I'm not spending an hour organizing the garage to get the boxes back out to put our Christmas decorations away. So
Cool.
The other day, it finally got above 30, so that's what we decided to do.
And dude, it got up into like 20, 25 degrees this past week.
Yeah.
It felt like a heat wave.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Oh man, I wanted to pull out the shorts and the t-shirt and
Like
flip-flops.
I got paint all over my hand, for those who don't believe me. I
thought it was leprosy.
Yeah. I was struggling, Mike, the other day. I literally told Sarah, I'm like, I can't stay in the house anymore. I'm like, I need to get out of the house. Like, a lot of times if I'm studying and there's like a debate I want to watch and listen, I will literally walk the neighborhood. I'm dead serious. With my AirPods in, a legal pad, because I still write everything down like I'm an old man, and a pen. And I'll walk the neighborhood for like an hour and a half. And if I hear something, I'll pause it and I'll jot it down. Like so I literally, even though it was 2 degrees, I just drove around for about 2 hours to be outside and let the sun hit me. And it made me feel so much better. I'm like, I am tired of being stuck and cooped up in the house because of it's negative 9 degrees outside. And
Yeah.
so
Seasonal affective disorder is a real thing.
I had to. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't care if I waste gas. I need to get out and get some sun. That's what I needed to do. So
I'm with you.
I'm excited. Next week, 45 to 50 degrees. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. But let's talk about the drinks we were drinking. Coffee was not doing it for me today.
No, you needed something stronger.
So
All right.
I usually don't drink energy drinks anymore. I've sort of completely cut that away out of my life. But today I had an extra one left over, and I'm like, this could do. So I have an Alani energy drink. That's
Okay.
a lot. I needed some caffeine. So once I put this in my system, I probably won't have another one for 6 to 8 months. We'll see. But
Yeah.
that's what I have today. I needed some energy, Mike.
Nice. Yeah, don't blame you.
Yeah.
Especially with the weather the way it's been.
Did you
Sucks
say
the
what
energy
kind
out
of
of
coffee you had?
What I've got, I have French roast from Starbucks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We don't frequent Starbucks that often. Like when we do, it's because we have a gift card. I like Starbucks, but if it's on sale at BJ's, we get the big 40 ounce bag of the
Yeah.
French roast. Like the beans are black. That's how roasted they are, and it's wonderful.
Also, my Keurig died this morning.
Oh no!
Like I fill up
Do you
the
have a
water.
funeral for it?
I fill up the water, right? I put the water on the thing. I put my coffee in it, and then it did a noise where it just went bleh. Like it literally made that noise, and I was like, "What the heck was that?" It was. Do you know how sometimes when like an animal dies, it just sort of gives up its last everything within its body, breath,
Gives up its last
taste,
breath.
everything. That's the sound my Keurig machine made this morning, and I'm going, "What the heck?" I even brought it to different outlets, thinking maybe I blew a fuse or something. And
Oh
I'm
man.
just like, I'm like, it's been 6 years, 6 to 7 years I've had it, but I'm just like, this thing just died in front of me. No CPR, I could do nothing to it. It just
No, no.
gave up its last whatever and just finalized itself. So right now I am going to be a non-lazy person in the morning and actually perk my coffee from here on out. I'm like
Yeah.
I was looking at the prices of and I want like a good one, not one of the, like the $40 ones where you got to fill up the water every time you use it because I'm way too lazy. Like they're pretty expensive. And so I'm like, you know what? I got some percolators. I'll just not be lazy and have to spend 5 minutes in the morning and make my coffee.
Just do it. Can you just get it ready night before and then have it ready to go when you wake up?
I could. So what I was thinking of doing
That's
was
what we
getting
do.
one of those automatic um, outlet plugs. You know what I'm talking about?
Hmm.
And then put a timer on it. And so have
Okay.
everything at night, and then when I wake up, it's already going type thing. That's what I was thinking of doing.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah, we have just a standard percolator coffee machine. It's a Ninja. We've had it for years. It works fine. We set it to go the night before, and then when we wake up, it's brewed.
And you've seen mine, that silver thing, that percolator that
Mhm.
came over. Yeah, that's the one I've been using.
Gotcha.
But it's
Gotcha.
giving me excuses to go through all my other flavors. So it's kind of nice.
All right. Well, that's good. Well, we're in what, 4 or 5 episodes into 2026. This
Mhm.
is, believe it or not, technically, this is our eighth season doing this podcast.
Wow.
Season 8. I mean, we had to include other special segments that we did that were separate from the normal stream,
Sure.
but yeah, it's crazy to think that we've been going for this length of time, but we decided that in 2026 we wanted to add this new segment to what we do each and every week, and we're calling this segment So This Happened. This is where we slow down for a moment before we get into the topic we are going to spend the majority of our time talking about. We're going to break down some stories in the culture and in the church, oftentimes both, and ask not just what happened in these stories, but what does a faithful response to these look like beyond the outrage and fear mongering that we find on social media? Uh, what does the faithful response look like for a follower of Jesus? All right,
Mhm.
so this happened this week. Candace Owens, if you don't know who Candace Owens is, she's a personality very popular in the conservative world, was affiliated with Turning Point USA and Daily Wire for a period of time. She says that Turning Point USA has sent her a cease and desist letter, demanding she retract claims she's made about the assassination of Turning Point USA founder Charlie Kirk. As many of you know, Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 10th, 2025. We actually covered that the week that it happened.
Wow. Man, I remember it felt like that was yesterday. It's in
It felt like
September.
it's back in September. Feels like
Wow.
eternity, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
And it happened while he was speaking at Utah Valley University, right? And this is a moment that obviously it stunned the political world and it affected many Christians who followed his work. We've even had this phrase among pastors in the Buffalo area called the Charlie Kirk bump. Like a lot of churches got a boost in their attendance the week after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. That's how disorienting this was societally. But in the months since this happened, Owens, once a leader within Turning Point USA, has publicly claimed that the U.S. government, Israel, and Turning Point USA leadership were complicit in Charlie Kirk's death. She's alleged betrayal, cover ups, and financial fraud. Keep in mind, none of this has been substantiated ever. But in a recent podcast episode, which now sits at 1.8 million views, Owens read excerpts from what she says is a letter from Turning Point USA's lawyers. The letter reportedly warned her to retract claims that Turning Point USA leaders knew about the assassination beforehand, participated in it the day of, or covered it up afterward. Her response is this: they would have better luck keeping the sun from rising than trying to keep me from investigating Charlie Kirk's assassination. One thing that she does well is investigation. That's something that she's known for. Now, Owen says she had previously had a non-disclosure agreement with Turning Point USA that expired in December of 2025, and that prohibited her from making false or defamatory claims about the organization. Turning Point says she breached it. Owen says she has not, and they are lying about attempts to resolve things privately. She claims she only spoke with two people from the organization after Kirk's death, one of them being Erica Kirk, which is Charlie Kirk's widow, who now leads Turning Point USA. The two reportedly met for 4 hours back in December, and then there was a moment that set off another firestorm. While mocking the legal letter, Owen said this: "It's gay to send a legal letter. It's
I,
very gay. You shouldn't do it." Let's pause there.
I
Can we
know.
pause there for a minute? Just for a minute. Not because this is the most shocking thing that has been said online this week, because it's not.
Right.
It's admit it's not. But
Yeah.
because it reveals something deeper. When Christians, or people claiming to be Christian, or Christian adjacent voices that a lot of Christians listen to, use language like this, what's being communicated is not Christ-likeness. It's not love. It's not grace. It's contempt.
Hmm.
Plain and simple. And that is corrosive to the Christian witness. It just is. So Scripture says the tongue has the power of life and death, not just when we're calm, but especially when we're angry. But Owens, she has doubled down on her claims. After reading the letter, Owens doubled down, accusing Turning Point USA of hiding bad eggs, insisting their cover-up, and saying it would be unconscionable for her to remain silent. And she challenged Turning Point USA to name a dollar amount, claiming she would raise it overnight on GoFundMe. She said, "My God is not money. I worship truth." And this is the tension. It's the tension. Everyone in this story is claiming truth.
Yeah.
Everyone's using moral language. Everyone believes they're righteous in this. Ryan, do you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I just, well, for our listeners and viewers, a quick disclaimer from myself is as you listen to our Charlie Kirk episodes, I really didn't have anything to say about him. I just had things to say about the theology of the intrinsic nature of mankind, like given Scripture, right? I don't pay
Mm-hmm.
attention to these people. Like you sending this to me is the first time I heard it. It just was the first time I heard it. I mean, I have friends and family that pay attention to these conspiracies, but I guess I don't have time or I just don't care. But to what you said about her calling her gay for not reaching out, I just think it's like you're a 7-year old in a gym locker room after you just played bombardment in gym class. You know what I mean? I think it's very immature. I think
Yeah.
it's unbecoming of
Yeah,
someone
it shows an emotional maturity for sure.
she has a kind of position she does. I definitely think it is they play on a lot of ad hominems where they attack the person's character instead of presenting the facts, which I don't appreciate. And it's just mind-boggling to
Yeah.
me of I do hear things, how such evidence to me shows such ambiguity in the story,
Mm-hmm.
where you're right, Mike. I need something more tangible to believe both sides of the story.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's almost as if we're playing into a weird sort of tribalism
Mm-hmm.
that the evidence, or I'm going to do air quotes, what they call evidence is profound for their side versus when you step back, look at the objectivity of it.
Yeah.
I think it's just playing into the tribalism that's getting ever more increasing. My goodness, if you
Mm-hmm.
watch any of the information of what's happening in the financial aspect of our globalism's, it's going away. Tribalism's happening. I mean, it's what's happening. So this is
Yeah.
not being promoted, and unfortunately, I think social media over the past decade has trained us to take sides prior to the evidence, which then makes us read the evidence as favorable to your position, which I just think that's a
Yeah.
terrible philosophical way um, to go about it.
Yeah. Yeah. You're starting from the assumption that your position is right and it represents absolute truth, which
Yeah.
it's a horrible starting point. And you're right that like this story is just one of many that represents the continual fracturing of society. Like
Yeah.
it started years ago, but you're seeing more and more of these tribal factions cropping up, like within
Hmm.
conservatism, within liberalism, within Christianity. There's actually, not to go on a rabbit trail, but there was an
Sure.
article that came out during COVID titled "The Six-Way Fracturing of the Evangelical Church." And
Hmm.
there's six factions that represent the current evangelicalism,
Yeah.
and there was a point in time where all six of these people groups would have worshiped together with one another. And now most of them won't worship alongside of each other at all. It's crazy to think that it's gotten to this point, and it seems to be getting worse, unfortunately.
And I do think, Mike, tell me if you agree with this. Granted, this isn't like this is just sort of a summation of what happened in this article, right? We don't know all the direct details that are happening behind the scenes. But it
Mm-hmm.
seems like the letter, what exactly was the letter again?
It was a cease and desist letter.
Okay, so it was okay. So it was that kind of letter. So it seems to me I'm looking at the article right now. It seems to me the letter, I don't know, Mike. I just feel like, granted, I don't know if they're losing followers and that's what they care about, but if someone could talk trash about me online and I guess I don't care. You
I
know what I
know.
mean? It seems that this response comes from a sense of hurt and a little bit of pride, it feels like. Now, I can't say if
Sure.
that's true, but this is sort of
But
my
but
intrinsic
putting
feeling.
out something like that's only going to galvanize somebody in Candace Owens' position,
And then, and
wouldn't
I,
it?
yeah, so, but like to me, I guess I
This doesn't
just,
seem like a wise move.
and in my mind, if I'm losing followers, I guess I don't care. Like, that's not the point of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
The point of what I'm doing is if anyone wants to listen, I'm trying to speak truth and present the evidence and arguments for it, whether it's
Right.
10 million or three people. And if I go from
Yeah.
10 million to 100,000, I don't know. It just has a feeling of emotion and pride where this letter came from. Granted, it's always not good to hear these things, especially if your husband just died that they think you're a part of it. Granted it, I get it. It's not good. Um, I just think none of this is helpful to the situation to any
Mm-hmm.
degree on both sides.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right. So
Yeah.
now, our next story comes from the Facebook page Maranatha Express, and it is in regards to a YouTube, Facebook influencer,
Yeah.
online influencer, I guess I should say, called Nisa Powers. Nisa Powers. So, viral detrans testimony is under scrutiny. This is directly from Maranatha Express's post. Keep in mind, this is not necessarily confirmed yet. This is just what I saw on social media. Nisa Powers accused of fabricating age, transition timeline, and core biography. So there's a compelling online testimony of Nisa Powers, who documented his journey from transgender identity to Christian faith, amassing hundreds of millions of views, and is facing severe credibility challenges following an investigative report alleging systematic fabrication of his age, life story, and transition timeline. Don't mind the plane flying directly over my house. Oh, if you all hear
That
that,
sounded like my
it's
that
it's
sounded like my
it's,
Keurig.
it's right before it gave up the ghost
Yeah.
and died. Yep. Under the name Nisa Powers, continuing on, real name is Thomas Ryan Powers. The influencer captivated a vast audience with content like first time going to church and day 13 of being a Christian. His narrative of detransitioning, exploring multiple denominations, and entering the Catholic Church made him a celebrated figure in online Christian circles, leading to a high-profile interview and business partnerships. All right, so there's a few allegations of fabrication against Nisa Powers that are
So,
going
Mike,
on right now.
before you finish,
Yeah,
can I ask you a quick question for clarify?
yes, yes.
Now, I don't, once again, once you sent me this is the first time I've heard of this.
Mm-hmm.
Was it someone who transitioned from male to female or from female to male and then gone back? What's the background quickly?
Male to female, then went back.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah, male to female, then went back. So his legal name is Thomas Ryan Powers. Goes
Okay.
by Nisa Powers. But the first fabricated item in Nisa's testimony is this age discrepancy.
Mm.
Nisa claims to be 29 years old, born in 1996, but public records indicate a birth year of 1989,
Straight
making
up,
him,
like I'm 38, right?
yeah,
And this guy looks like he's like 45. So anyone like 29, who would
not
kill?
29.
I don't want
Not
to sound
29.
mean. I'm not saying like he's 37 according to, I mean, you look 37, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that would put him at like 36, 37.
Yeah.
He stated that he began to transition at age 16. There's archived photos in a 2023 podcast interview showed him living as a man into his late 20s, suggesting a transition started around 2018, which was age 29 for him. Going on, he
Okay.
cited childhood influences iCarly and One Direction. Premiered when he was already between 18 and 26 years old. Let's see. This report suggests these are not isolated errors, but form a coherent alternative biography. It notes his pre-faith content performed poorly, while his new Christian series achieved viral fame, implying a societal incentive to craft a more marketable, sympathetic testimony. Okay.
Yeah. Um, so I will say this.
hmm
I will say you can't blame the person for wondering if your transition testimony to back and forth and then in Christian is trying to sell your story.
Yeah.
Because when the prior information seems to be falsified, it's almost like a cry wolf situation. You can see why this accusation of like, okay, no one cared. Now it just so happened to be he's a Christian and it's working wonders. Now,
Well,
that's
yeah.
not to say it isn't, but it's to say you can see why the person writing this article would question this.
Oh, yeah.
It
Well,
makes perfect sense to me.
if he's fabricated small details of this story, leads us to believe this detail around his conversion is true?
Yeah, I don't know.
And we can't fully know that, of course.
No.
Um, but yeah, it just it. I was talking to my wife about this as well. Like I've seen Nisa's videos show up on my feed periodically, and I'll say that I was taken in by his testimony, just
Mhm.
how he came out of a transgender lifestyle and found Jesus, and he's trying to get footing around his faith. And I've seen his videos. It seems like he's genuine. And you
Yeah.
also have to keep in mind too that like somebody who's claiming to be transgender also is dealing with other pre-existing mental health issues that would lead them to fabricate certain things as well.
Yeah.
What makes it concerning is the fact that when he's coming out of that lifestyle, why wasn't he forthcoming about these fabrications? Why didn't he?
Right,
Why
right.
wasn't he just honest about it? Said, hey, like I wasn't completely truthful. I wasn't totally honest. Let me come clean and be straight with you. I'm not actually 29. I'm 36.
Hmm.
And it seems like an odd thing to fabricate. Like,
Yeah.
why would you need to lie about that information? You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's very interesting to me. So what, in your opinion, Mike, from you following this person and listening to stories, what is it about if the information of him his age, like I don't know why lie about your age. It's just mind-blowing to me. What is it about these supposed lies that adds to a story? Like for instance, if you were just honest on everything, like yeah, you don't so what you watched iCarly at 25, okay?
Right.
Versus
Right.
you watched it at 13. You know what I mean? Like,
hmm
I'm just confused
Who
why that
cares?
takes away from if the Lord's truly working in your life to come
Yeah.
back to to your biological sex when you were born. I does he Does he think it's gonna make him look weird so people won't trust the story? Like
Yeah.
what's the feel that you're getting about this?
I don't know, but all of this leads me to believe, and I
Yeah.
can't say this with certainty, but leads me to believe that what Nisa was doing was a brand shift to get more people to follow him. Like there's enough of an online market for me to do this
Yeah.
to get the attention of evangelical Christians who can be on the more gullible side
Yeah, yeah.
and are taken in by stories like this. It seemed like a lucrative thing for him to try to do, and yeah, just cashing in on the grace that he knew he was going to be met with by many evangelical Christians. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I guess my advice to this gentleman and everyone else is like even if you think your small details of your life like you like One Direction at 30. Like some of their songs, let's be honest, Mike, some of their songs are catchy. I'm gonna be
They
honest with
are.
you. Like I don't listen to them, but like if one comes on the radio,
My
it's like all right, like this one's got a good beat to it.
so
Let's be
my
honest.
daughter. I don't know if you've heard anything about K-pop Demon Hunters.
No.
Okay, so it's a Netflix movie, and
Okay.
it
I
focuses
saw them at the
around.
Macy's parade. They did a
Yeah,
huge thing about it. Other than that,
yeah.
I was like, yeah, okay.
It's a female pop trio,
Okay.
and they're a musical outfit, but it's a front for they're hunting demons, like spiritual demons that are roaming the earth, and they're
Hence
keeping
Demon
the world
Hunters.
safe.
Right.
Yeah, but there's so many catchy songs in that, and I find myself just humming these songs or singing these songs, even though like I don't like the music at all.
Okay.
It's funny. But anyway, I don't think there should be any shame in being an adult and admitting like, yeah, there are some songs by this artist that like I find catchy. I
Yeah,
just
I mean,
do.
I was 12 listening to the Gaither vocal band. So what? I liked
Sure.
it. I liked it. But my thing is like there are specific things in your life, my life, and each individual's life that if you were to lie about it, you just never know what glorious thing God could use in someone else's life, even by
Hmm.
the details that you think are embarrassing.
Yeah.
So don't hide it. Like offer it up.
That's a point of connection you could have with
Yeah,
someone.
offer it up
Absolutely.
and let the Lord do what he wants with it. Even if you think it's embarrassing, let it happen. Like, don't lie about it because
Absolutely.
you're going to get to the point where if it catches up to you in this life, right? Who knows what damage you're going to do? And God could have been like, man, you understand what I could have done with that detail with all of these other people who feel
Hmm.
bizarre because they're 30 in like One Direction. Like, who cares? Be truthful because you just don't know what's going to happen or what the
Yeah,
Lord can use. And music's subjective. If you like a beat,
exactly.
you like a beat. Granted, I hate a lot of kind of
Yeah.
music out there.
Yeah.
Who cares? I
Yeah.
just let the Lord use your story the way He wants to and
Yeah.
stop telling Him and restricting Him because you're embarrassed. That's sort of what I
Right.
feel.
Yeah. And hopefully Nisa decides that he's going to just be forthright about this information and
Yeah.
give an honest testimony, because it's not just your name that you're associated with now, it's also the name of Jesus. And you don't want to do damage to that witness. And we'll see. Time will tell whether he's genuinely doing this for the right reasons or if he's
Yeah.
just doing it for a platform. All right. All right, so today we continue a series of episodes that we started last week. And yes, just so you know, like
Magic again,
magically,
baby.
a baby I'm feeding just randomly popped into my arms. It's my daughter. She woke up from a nap. We paused the recording. And so I'm feeding her while we're recording. It's just how it is. But we're continuing a series of episodes we started last week where we explore the true origins and beliefs and practices of Islam. So we're not talking about caricatures culture might have built up in the minds of people. We're not talking about fun slogans, or we're talking about the actual and historical and theological roots
Yeah.
of Islam, right? So I'm going to hand this off to you in a moment, Ryan, but I just want to reiterate this. I think it's important for our listeners to hear, whatever spiritual journey they're on right now, is that this series is not about fear mongering. It's not about demeaning our Muslim neighbors. We are called to truth and we are called to love. We're called to both things. But love does not mean ignorance. Peace does not come from pretending that certain realities about a belief system don't exist when in fact they do. These are important conversations, especially because most people, Christians included, only know Islam through sort of these modern sound bites. And so today, we're taking some time to talk about jihad, right? And Ryan, do you want to expand on that and
Yeah.
just get into a little bit more why we're doing this series?
And I like what you said, Mike. We're not here to just, hey, this is trash. Let's just knock it and beat it over the head. That's not the point, right?
No.
It's to take a serious look at historical information, not only just through the Islamic sort of history, but through, I mean, what we're going to find through Christian history. Because let's be honest, like to look at some aspects of Christian history and not condemn it it would be a wild sort of conclusion to me. Like there are clearly aspects of Christianity that aren't Christ-like. And we're gonna find that out through these next few weeks. And I think that's a to me, I feel like that's a fair assessment. But we also need to then ask very difficult questions. And if some dirt or a lot of dirt or mud reveals itself, I think it needs to be looked at because if it is true, we should all desire to know that which is true. If it's even if it's messy, right? From both sides of the coin. So
Yeah,
today,
and even if it doesn't paint us in the best possible light, we should desire to
yeah,
know it.
absolutely. And I think that's just a fair assessment. I think that's what we should be doing. And one of the things that we've talked about recently was sort of the Islamic persecution happening in like Nigeria and all throughout the world in the East. And one book that I read recently that we're going to not be doing a book review, but sort of looking through sections of this sort of conflict between Islam and the West throughout, I would say, a millennium, 1,000 years, happening after the Prophet Muhammad passed away, and actually through events of his life. And seeing what the history points to and what actually took place and opening up. And we're doing it through the lens of a guy that I really like. I pay attention to him. His name is Raymond Ibrahim. He is probably the most jacked historian I know of. Like I don't know if you've seen pictures of him.
Yes, I have.
It looks
His
like
biceps are as big as my head,
I
and that's
swear
pretty big.
I swear he takes his whey protein, no liquid, like that kind of guy.
He just
But
scoops it right out in his mouth.
But recently, I'm gonna say recently, 5 years ago, he sort of revamped a book that he wrote in 2018 called "The Sword." Can you see that, Mike?
Hmm. I can.
In the Scimitar,
Hmm.
14 centuries of war between Islam and the West. Now, this guy is a good historian, in my opinion. I know. I mean, I don't think I've seen a book that has as many like crazy end notes. I mean, I mean, hundreds and
Oh
hundreds and
yeah,
hundreds. His
yeah.
biography is crazy in this book.
Yeah, he's got footnotes and like end notes like on each page.
Yeah, and I've read a lot of the work that he refers to, and I think his interpretation of the work is pretty good, in my opinion. But quickly, he is an American author and historian and expert on Islam in the Middle East, born to a Coptic Egyptian parents. He worked as a Arabic linguist, so he speaks Arabic and writes Arabic and reads Arabic. He was at the Library of Congress. He was the one who wrote the Al Qaeda Rita. He was the one that found basically the notes from Osama bin Laden's crew that the government just sort of tossed behind them and
Wow.
translated into English. I mean, the story of it's quite fascinating. He tells a story on YouTube of it for the world to actually understand what bin Laden believed about war, his theology, his doctrine, his political stance. So this guy has credentials. He is a I think he's a very good, detailed historian in my opinion. Um, and he is a fellow at Gatestone Institute, Middle East Forum, and David Horowitz Freedom Center. So he is pretty well known through the Islamic studies when it comes to being a good historian. And so we thought it would be a great sort of series to talk about the history of this conflict between Islam and the West through a lot of A lot of his work. We should put it that way. Is that a fair
Yeah,
assessment of what we're going to do, Mike?
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and he, I like how. Let me just make sure I'm unmuted. Okay. So I'm trying to make sure I'm unmuted so that you're not hearing me not smack, but like pat the back of my daughter's belly, and
Yeah.
you're hear her drinking her bottle periodically. Yeah, no, I'm not smacking my daughter. Don't worry. But he opens up sword and scimitar by grounding everything in the life of Muhammad, right? Because that's where Islam begins, right?
Yeah,
So
I
he's
mean, according to the doctrinal belief, he is sort of the apex of humanity, right?
mhm,
And we ought to look and be like him.
mhm,
That's sort of the belief system. So, who Muhammad was in character, what he thought, his actions he believed to take. This is like in Christianity, we have be Christ-like. In
mhm,
Islam, I think it's a fair assessment to say be prophet-like, be
mhm.
Muhammad-like.
Be
Um,
Muhammad like,
be
yeah.
Muhammad-like. So that I mean, there's like
Well,
that's
yeah, and Islam literally means submission. Like, and Muslim means one who submits, according to Ibrahim. But submission to what? That's the underlying question, isn't it?
sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's right in what the Shahada, right? It's on their flags. It's what they say. It's basically there's no God but Allah. Muhammad is his prophet or the messenger.
Hmm.
Like this is what you're
Hmm.
supposed to believe and
Hmm.
recite in order to be Muslim in their belief. And so you have not only the belief in Allah, but like Muhammad as this apex of humanity, the final lookalike of who we're supposed to be when it comes to Islam. So, yeah, sorry, Mike, keep going.
No, yeah, you said exactly what I was gonna kind of lean into a little bit here. But once those words are spoken, there's no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger, or Muhammad is his prophet.
Yeah.
Once those words were spoken, you're not an enemy of Islam anymore. You're politically and socially aligned with Islam and with Allah, I guess. So Islam wasn't just a belief system; it's also this governing identity.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. What I thought was really interesting about the opening pages of Ibrahim's book, he talks a bit about Muhammad's early life in trying to promote Islam.
Yeah.
And he noted that after 12 years of peaceful preaching in Mecca, Muhammad only had 100 followers. And he's like, this isn't very effective. But
Yeah.
then after about a decade of raiding and warfare, nearly half of Arabia, or all of Arabia rather, had submitted. I think
Hmm.
that contrast feels important to me.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you're right, Mike. The standard narrative, not just from non-Muslims, but from their own sources. You have like Ibn Kathir. You have I have a lot of the sources over here on this side. You can't see it, but they say basically, like you said, after 12 years of preaching who he was within Mecca. That's the standard
Hmm.
narrative. Whether Mecca existed at the time is another question. But Mecca, he moved to Medina because the tribes over there basically needed someone to settle this sort of civil war that's happening. And then he gained about 10,000 followers, whether it be from the people there or just Bedouin in the desert. And then afterwards, he basically went back to Mecca and killed the Jews that basically laughed them out of Mecca to take hold of. And that's I mean that's a very 101 sort of overview. There's a lot of details within there that we'll talk about as these weeks go on. But yeah, that's sort of the standard narrative. He went back to take Mecca.
So he had a bone to pick with the Jews,
Yeah,
laughed him out of. Huh.
yeah. And
Interesting.
that's why today when you talk to a particular Muslim, and I've interviewed quite a lot of people who claim to follow Islam, there is this I'm trying to explain it the best way possible from the sort of what I gathered from it. There is this level of disapproval where, yes, technically the Christians need to be converted. Everyone needs, in a sense, to be converted, right? But we sort of appreciate and like the Christians on a hierarchy higher than the Jews because of what the Jews did to Muhammad. So even though we are technically both heretics and disbelievers, right? There is a hierarchy of favor when it comes to the sects of belief, the Christians and the Jews. And the Jews are highly disliked from what not only I'm reading, but what I've been personally told in comparison to the Christians.
Mm.
And that's, I mean, I'm not going to quote to people because I don't know if they listen or not, but that's directly from the mouths of many people I've interviewed on this topic.
Gotcha. Gotcha. So it challenges the idea that, the modern idea that Islam is spread primarily through persuasion. And I think it's pretty blunt
Yeah, define
in
persuasion, right?
sword and scimitar that there's only one way to avoid the scimitar of Muhammad: either you submitted or you face violence. That was it.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is fascinating because there is in their doctrine something called jizya, and jizya is basically they call it a poll tax, but if you read the history of it, and this is my topic for next year that I'll be going into, you should see some of the sources I've collected on this. It's called the third choice, right? Typically, when people read the classic um, literature on Islam, there's this argument that they basically said convert or die. Now, I don't think that's true, in my opinion. There's a convert, there's a die, or there's this third option that you can become in Muslim society inferior position of a dhimmi or like a dhimmitude, where you then pay this jizya or this tax for you to be able to continue in your way of life and believe what you believe. But that comes with a guideline on what you can and cannot do in society, and we'll talk about that. And when the tax is paid historically, what takes place at this public ceremony, what it looks like. So we'll dive into the history of that because there are incredible sources and historians from the time of Islamic belief that record what is actually happening. And that's a next year topic that we'll get into more when I do my arguments on that. But yeah, so he even says here, I found it on page 11. Can I read you this section? This quick section. He says Muhammad declared eternal war on Christendom as captured in the Quran 9:29, where it states, "Fight those among the people of the book, Christians and Jews, who do not believe in Allah nor the last day, nor forbid what Allah and His Messenger has forbidden, nor embrace the religion of truth until they pay jizya with willing submission and feeling themselves subdued." In other words, Islam's three choices had come to the Jews and Christians. Either they converted, died fighting, or kept the religion by paying extortion money and accepting an inferior position as dhimmis in Muslim society. And so that was and we see that in quite a few verses. He gives to 929 and 95 within the Quran itself. And there's a whole history of jizya from their own sources. You're muted.
There we go. So I want to
Yep.
look at something else that he mentions too. That he says Muhammad's message aligned perfectly with three dominant tribal values: loyalty to one's tribe,
Mhm.
hostility towards other tribes, and raiding them to enrich your own. So when we're talking about jihad, this idea didn't emerge in this vacuum. This was a religiously sanctified tribal raid, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, so
So yeah,
if I could, I want to be a little more fair to the
sure,
concept of jihad if I could. I want to
yeah.
kind of go over a little bit quickly because I've been looking into this topic as well, and we see a lot of this too within a lot of their writers. What exactly is jihad? Because when you hear this phrase, you think of this sort of caricature of someone just running into a building and killing people. Like
Hmm.
I don't think that's
Yeah.
necessarily a fair characteristic of jihad when you look at their actual sources. Now, it does not always mean combat, right? It may be a state of condition between human groups even when physical warfare is not being conducted. So, jihad, let me just give you some of the derives from the root, and I wrote this down. JHD, the meaning of which is to strive or exert oneself or take extraordinary pains. According to Bonner, Dr. Bonner, it is a verbal noun of the third Arabic form of the root jihada, classically defined as exerting one's utmost power, efforts, endeavors, or ability in contending with an object or like strong disapproval of the objects. And there's actually many kinds of
Hmm.
jihad in their literature. I mean, this idea of exerting one's self is not just an example of war, it is like life.
Hmm.
So, jihad, in a sense, is this
Gotcha.
struggle that is life itself. I mean, there's jihad of the tongue, there's jihad of the heart, there's jihad of the mind, there's jihad of what is called al
Okay.
saif,
So it's not
Sayf.
just physically against your enemies. It's an all-encompassing
It's all
idea.
encompassing, but that
Okay.
includes what they call al Sayf. I'm going to butcher that, but it's called jihad of the sword. So there
Hmm.
is an example of physical war or abuse
Physical
of
jihad.
jihad of the sword, and it comes in two main categories when you read their literature. Um, there's a category of jihad of the sword of defending, which you find throughout history, or there's jihad of the sword of propagating, meaning going into other
Hmm.
lands and promoting and spreading Islam by the sword.
Hmm.
Dr. Firestone writes this when it comes to the term: when the term is used without qualifiers, because you
Hmm.
need to qualify, because it's what isn't helpful is a lot of social media that just use the term jihad. I don't think many of these news anchors know what the heck they're talking about on most topics, let alone this topic. But this is what Dr. Firestone says, and I really like kind of what he's saying here, and you're going to see this a lot in the literature. When the term is used without qualifiers, and we're going to see this in their sources, it is, however, universally understood as war on behalf of Islam, equivalent to jihad of the sword. So when you just hear the term jihad, it is safe to assume in the literature that they're referring to that of the
Hmm.
sword, but there are qualifiers in it.
Hmm.
And as time went on, you have a lot of groups within Islam, especially the mystic groups, that made classifications within the concepts of jihad.
Hmm.
Like you have what is called the greater and lesser jihad, where the greater jihad is the sort of theological struggle against the self, right? I need to fight my internal desires, my internal sin in the way they understand sin philosophically and theologically, like this sort of ignorance to what is happening. And then there's this lesser jihad, which is the warring, physical warring of the sword in the path of God. Now, I struggle with their greater or lesser, but I can understand where they get it from because I think through history they blend, and I guess I need to get a better grasp on what they mean by greater or lesser because I
Sure.
think there's a lot of jihad of the sword throughout their history, but there's also a
Yeah.
lot of jihad of the tongue and the heart throughout history as
Sure.
well. And so
Yeah.
I don't know if this is just a classification throughout history to make it seem like it's less there, but
Okay.
I need more clarification and I'm looking into it kind of things.
Yeah. Now, quick question though
Yeah.
on like you're talking about jihad of the sword. All right,
Mhm.
if we can lock in on that for a minute.
Sure.
It seems to me that based on my very, very limited understanding of this and reading the introduction of Sword and Scimitar, it seems like violence against outsiders for people who are following Islam, engaging in jihad of the sword, that violence against outsiders wasn't just considered to be like normative, it was considered to be holy. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yeah, the only, and I could, our listeners can correct me on this, and I have a couple scholars who pointed this out to me. The only thing I could find of an actual true guarantee that a follower of Islam will go to heaven is if they die in a holy war through the jihad of the sword. Other than that, I see no objective epistemological certainty in any of their writings, whether it be the tafsirs or the Quran itself. This is the only promise. Now, to reveal my hand and my bias, which I will reveal right now because I'm a Christian and I've looked into this stuff. I think what Muhammad did was quite brilliant. And this is coming from my bias, from my personal stance. I think what he did was I need to figure out a way to get people to fight for me. And so what he did was it seems that all of a sudden God appeared to him to give him this command of, oh, interesting. If you win in the battle, I will give you all of the spoils, besides a certain percentage that you're going to owe me and all this stuff, right? But guess what? What God has revealed to me, if you die during battle, you are guaranteed with certainty to go to heaven. So it's a win-win proposition to
Right.
people who would
Right.
follow him. It's very, very clever. Um, but what's is fascinating, it's because I can't find anywhere else where you have this epistemological certainty other than fighting through war, jihad of the sword, through the Quran or any of the other sources. But
Hmm.
from my perspective, this is what it appears he is doing. And I think it's extremely clever on his account to have in my perspective, a subjective, oh, how do I get people? Oh, well, look at what I was just told. Oh,
Right.
interesting. It's a win-win.
Hmm.
You see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Um, and
Yeah,
so
and
that's what
he's
I think.
recorded as yeah, and he's recorded as saying lining up for battle in the path of Allah is worth more than 60 years of worship.
Hmm.
Holy
I
cow,
mean,
right?
it's the
So,
only thing that I can find that it's literally epistemological certainty. That's the only thing I can
yep.
find.
Yep, so you've got these guaranteed eternal rewards.
Hmm.
It's essentially risk-free. You win, you get spoils, you die, you get paradise. How could you lose in that? And that's a recipe for fanaticism.
Oh, 100%. When you have a
It
win-win
is.
proposition,
Hmm.
you're going to get a flood to your side, especially if you enter the category of these Bedouins who really don't believe anything in the desert. Like, oh, okay, well, if I die, who the heck cares? But you're telling me if I win, I can keep everything or a large portion of it? Like, yeah, and
Right?
you now have tens of thousands of people and you want to take over everything. What do I care? I'm going to join you guys and I'm going to take the spoils because you're going to allow me to take it. Like, this is great,
Hmm.
right? Hence,
Yeah.
you will see probably in the following week or weeks that after Muhammad died, the first battle that Islam took was sort of this battle of apostasy within their own people before they started going out. Because a lot of the people went, okay, well, I don't trust this new guy coming in. I'm just going to go do my own thing because I don't have Muhammad now to guarantee me. And then the following leaders went, but wait a minute, like he put me in order. If you're an apostate, this is what happens to apostasy. And you'll see that clearly through the hadiths as well as the Quran that we'll take a look at. And so the first battle, Mike, was not against the disbelievers, technically. I think the first major conflicts are happening within their own ummas, their own tribes of those who then are committing apostasy, those who never actually believed but only followed because they could get the spoils.
Right. Yeah, it's
And
incredible to
once
think
again,
about. Now,
we see this in Christianity too. People believe
we do.
because they think they're going to get things through the early church. So,
Get out of hell free card.
yeah,
Yep.
I know exactly.
Fire
So,
insurance.
exactly. So it's we're just taking a live look at what we're seeing historically and what could rational
Yep.
conclusions be from some of this informational
Yeah.
information we're getting.
Well, and he doesn't shy away in the book about talking about what those rewards are, the
No.
72 Houris. So I guess I didn't know the details. I know 72 virgins, but apparently
Who get,
these are wide-eyed, big-bosomed
who get
women.
re-virginized, whatever the heck that means.
Sure,
I
sure.
know what it means physically, but then the term logically doesn't make sense. But that's another topic for another day. Um,
Okay, okay.
if you know what I
Now, yeah, it's a different topic. Yeah,
mean.
we
Yeah.
won't get into that today. Um, Now, for those who weren't motivated by the reward,
Mm.
they could also be motivated by fear, correct? So
Sure.
Muhammad warned that like Muslims who refused to fight would be tortured like no other sinful human in hell. Like, so even if you were like a peacemaker by nature and you didn't want to go out and fight, there was this threat of eternal damnation if you didn't. So jihad was enforced through both fear and desire, it seems. Is
Yep.
that fair?
I think it's a very fair statement. Let me read you this quick before this is how he finishes his introduction. He goes, 2 years later, in 632, Muhammad was dead. In his lifetime, he had managed to rally the Arabs under the banner of Islam. On his death, some tribes sought to break away, including by remaining Muslim but not paying the zakat, sort of the tax that they pay, to Abu Bakr, Muhammad's father-in-law and successor, branding them all apostates, which in Islam often earns the death penalty. The Caliph initiated what is called the Ridda, or Ridya, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's called the Apostasy Wars. That's the translation, which saw tens of thousands of Arabs beheaded, crucified, and burned alive in 633. Uh, these wars, and in 634 in the life of Abu Bakr. So they even historically, according to their own biographers, they point to this war that the first thing happened is that after, within the years of Muhammad's death, people said, I'm not doing what you want anymore. I'm turning away. And the first scimitar went after their own supposed people. Because you find, and we'll go through more of this as we go on, the rules for apostasy happening in the Quran, and you see this throughout the Sharia as well. The legal, the legality or legal manuals produced from the Quran and the Hadiths later on after Muhammad's death.
And now, one of the more unsettling things, and we talked about this
Sure.
just a little while ago too, that jihad functioned as this more reset button, it seems like. Right? So
Yeah,
instant forgiveness of sins became a license to sin. It seems like
I think
many
so.
like famous jihadists lived otherwise very like what you would consider un-Islamic lives. So they would drink copious amounts of alcohol, engage in homosexuality and other immoral behavior, but none of that mattered if they fought, right?
No, fighting immediately guaranteed it.
Right,
So
right. So
you can do whatever you want, but since you're a fighter, you are guaranteed. You're guaranteed. It's almost like um, so you have the concept of perseverance of the saints, right? But you also have the concept of eternally secured, and I think they're two different things. I think people conflate them. And the people who think eternally secured means all I got to do is pray this thing and I can do whatever I want to do. I'm now eternally secured, right? Um, and this is sort of the concept, kind of a brotherly concept of Islam and Christianity that, hey, as long as I do this, I'm good to do whatever I want to do. And it was a license, especially within the Bedouin clans, to do whatever they wanted in the rest of their lives, even though, like, you are commanded to do particular things in Islam. This was sort of a get out of jail free card.
yeah, so there's this antinomianism that was kind
Yes.
of baked into the Islamic belief system. That's
Mhm.
interesting. Now, the Quran describes non-Muslims as, I'm going to read some descriptors here,
Yeah.
vile animals, the worst of creatures, even partners of Satan.
Hmm.
They're to be fought, terrorized, and expelled. That's the idea. That like we have that coexistence bumper sticker that people like to put on their cars. That doesn't seem to jive very well with that, if you ask me.
No. No, and I think Dr. Mark Drury is right in his book on the third choice. He talks about how he's convinced, and he gives all the Arabic and Quranic and Hadith arguments for it, that the whole striving is to basically is and I guess the best way to put it is make the world Islamic, make the world Muslims, and that can involve a lot of things, even if it means for a time being friends or lying, if it benefits Islam in the long run. So I see this idea of this do whatever you can do because there's this tribalism. Those who are Islamic, those who are Muslims are our family. Everyone else in the following suit of Abraham is to be denied, rejected. And I believe, and I think there's great arguments for it, disliked and hated. Because according to, and you read a lot of their philosophers, oh, where's a book on it? Straight from the philosophers, it's somewhere over here, that God does not love the non-believer. In Christianity, God loves everyone, hates what the non-believer does, but because he loves the person, I don't see any philosophical doctrine from the early philosophers that God loves the disbeliever. God loves as an aspect of his nature, but philosophically, I see it as a contingent property, not a necessary property.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And so he can then choose to love versus the God of Christianity, who by nature has this agape, this otherness aspect to him. The God of the Quran has this otherness as a contingent, not a necessary property within his nature.
I see. Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
why if you're trying to be like him or trying to be like Muhammad, you can hate, literally hate for the sake of hating the disbeliever. And I think it follows logically from the earliest philosophers.
So there's this haunting phrase, and maybe we can cap off our discussion by talking about this.
Sure.
Muhammad's letter to foreign rulers. Adam Taslam, 2 words. Submit and you will have peace, is what that means, right?
Yep.
Now that sounds ominous, if you're asking me. And it's even more disturbing to me when you realize peace only comes after, again, this is the very root word of the belief system, submission, right?
Yep.
So there's the fundamental difference here between Islam and Christianity. Jesus says, my kingdom is not of this world, where Muhammad's kingdom, yeah, I know. Muhammad's kingdom very much was, right? And I think that difference matters.
Yeah.
It matters a ton.
And I agree. And one of the things I like, and tell me if you get this, Mike, because I know next week we'll talk about the Battle of Yarmouk or Yarmouk, however you want to pronounce it. Ibrahim's work has this sort of feel to me. Tell me if you get this from this. It seems there's like this assumption that history shows sort of the doctrinal belief by actions. And what I mean by that is like, does history give us an insight on how the earliest followers understood the prophet's actions and desires for the future? And you can stand 1,500 years later, 1,400 years later, and go, no, this is not what it is. But when you go to the earliest sources and you go to the earliest people who stood and heard and listened to the prophet and then acted in this way because they believe he ought to act like the prophet, those actions of the earliest followers afterward should give us really good clarity and insight on what they believed the nature and character of who we're supposed to be is relation to what Allah told the Prophet Muhammad. In the same way, I don't look to the church or the Pope now to show me what like the best clarification of what Jesus looked like. I go to the apostles and the apostolic writings to go, okay, this is the clearest source for me on how we are to act and think and be like in relation to what Jesus said. Why? Because they're the closest to it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And I think Raymond's work goes, okay, you're saying it's all about peace. I'm making this claim that this is what the prophet taught. Right. Let's take a look at the earliest followers who literally lived and walked and breathed and ate with them and what they believed about what the prophet taught and said we were supposed to look like.
Yeah. And peace peace at what means too. Like,
that's a good question.
Peace by what means. You could say you want peace, but who's paying for that?
Yeah, exactly. And
it just seems like it's paid for in the blood of those who don't believe the way you do.
Exactly. And I think it's a fair question he has. Like, hey, you're claiming this, but did the followers of him believe what you're believing? And let's look at their actions. Let's look at their writing. Let's look at their sources. And
Yeah.
if you're supposed to be like him, why then do you think you are in better position to know than his brother and father-in-law who displayed these actions afterwards? Does that make sense?
Hmm.
You're claiming to be in an epistemic position I don't think you can claim to be in. So that's sort of what the assumption of his book kind of is coming across as a historian.
Cool. Well, Ryan, this is super helpful.
Yeah.
So next week we're going to get into some of the battles between Christians and Islam and look at some of the implications for that and how that shapes out for us today and why that matters for us. And Ryan, do you have anything you wanted to share in closing?
No, not really. I want to take a fair look. I want to take we're not going to look at
Mhm.
all of the information because I mean there's so many sources out there, but we want to take just a
Yeah.
fair, crucial look at not only just Islam but how Christianity reacted to it and the history behind it. And I think there's condemnation on both aspects. I
Yeah.
I still think there's more on one side of the coin than the other, and we'll go
Right.
through all that. But
Right.
I think once you look at the earliest sources, history will reveal a kind of
Mhm.
lesson in a kind of format
Yeah.
that we can ask questions of why is this not like this
Yeah.
today? Are we when
Right.
the people over in Nigeria, are they as extreme as we think they are, or are they just doing what their prophet told them to do and look like?
Hmm.
And if we come to that conclusion, and if our listeners, you can reject it or deny it, but if you come to the same conclusion, you then need to put your life at the forefront and go, wait a minute, I need to ask myself some serious questions
Hmm.
if that's the case. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And as we go through this history of Christian and Islam warring with one another, we're going to find that there are some unflattering details that do not paint Christians in the best light.
nope, not
But
at
we're
all.
not we're not trying to sugarcoat history. We're not trying to pretend that we're like Christians are completely innocent in this. Like there are some things that unjust things that Christians have been complicit in, and we shouldn't shy away from that. We should be honest about it.
Yeah, and I think what is it, the third or
Yeah,
fourth crusade was just basically I want money. And
sure.
the but that's not how the
Yeah,
crusade started, but like they basically ended up money grabs at the end, which is
yeah.
unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, but we'll get into more of that next week. Listeners, thank you for listening or watching. If you're tuning in on YouTube to the Caffeinated Christian, you got to see one of us, which is kind of cute, is my daughter. She was so kind to crash the party again this week. But as always, we ask that you'd like, listen, watch, subscribe, rate, and review, and share this far and wide to as many people as you can. If this was beneficial or helpful to you, please share it with somebody. It'll help get the podcast out there into the earbuds or in front of the eyeballs of more people. As always, you can reach out to us at The Caffeinated Christian, at The Caffeinated Christian. You can find us on Facebook or on YouTube or on Instagram. And as always, we would love to hear feedback and thoughts from you as our listeners. And we can't wait until next week. And until then, have a great day.